Check it out, Casper!
Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Casper here, and it's pretty well known now that the Dead Ringer got what appears to be a pretty huge nerf in the Gun Mettle update. So now that I've had a few hours to play with it, let's analyse the changes and take a look at some clips that wouldn't have been possible before the patch. So let's take a look at the new stats. So the first three are comparatively minor. But the fourth point here, Spy now gets a 3-second speed boost after feigning death. What also isn't mentioned here is that during those 3 seconds you cannot get burnt by flames. So you can get hurt by flames, but you cannot catch on fire. Both of these attributes are actually a buff compared to how the Dead Ringer used to work. Now the next two are really important. Initial attack only being reduced by 50% means that you will now die to any headshot other than a minimum amount of charge one. You will also die to backstabs. In fact, if you are less than anything about 50 health, then having your Dead Ringer up means that you are still going to die to almost any of the normal Team Fortress attacks. A body shot, a closest rocket, a grenade, a sticky, or even a couple of seconds of minigun fire. On top of that, there's only 3 seconds where you've got more than 20% damage resistance. And that is nothing compared to how the previous Dead Ringer mechanic used to work, where you could survive at least 2 backstabs. After these 3 seconds, you're only at 20% damage resistance, and when you bump people you will shimmer, which normally wouldn't happen until after 7 seconds of Dead Ringer cloak. This is the really big part of the nerf, and dramatically reduces the survivability of a Dead Ringer spy. And it is the main reason that you've now basically got to play with this watch in a very different way. This resistance reduction is really noticeable, and there's been quite a few times where I've sort of expected myself to survive and I haven't. So in this clip here, I've got 14 health, and I'm pretty sure with the old Dead Ringer I wouldn't have died here. Another example here where I've got 36 health, and even if a direct rocket had hit me with the old Dead Ringer mechanic, I wouldn't have died. But now, this is an instance where you will die. The very last change is that you can no longer fill your cloak from ammo boxes while cloaked. And those very last 2 words are important. While cloaked. You can still pick up ammo to refill your cloak while you're not invisible. So in this clip here, I make sure that I drop my cloak just before reaching the kit, so it actually refills my cloak ammo. And in this clip here, my Dead Ringer gets set off, and in a very quick amount of time, I pick up 2 crates, and that completely refills my Dead Ringer. Even though things like this are possible, overall, it's still a really big nerf, because you could, in theory, be invisible forever with the previous Dead Ringer. Now the maximum is 7 seconds, although in that 7 seconds you do now have a 3-second speed boost to help you get out of danger. So adapting your playstyle now to the new Dead Ringer. Obviously it's very early days, and I think there's a lot of strategies to sort of come out of the woodwork, but first thing that I've sort of been thinking of is to use that speed boost. Obviously that is the only buff that's really happened, that speed boost and that fire resistance. So in this clip here, I really want to get behind as quick as possible as soon as the round starts. So I want my Dead Ringer to get set off so I've got that speed boost. Unfortunately, I do bump this guy after that initial 3 seconds, but fortunately enough, he doesn't see me, and I managed to get a nice chain stab here, and that would not have been possible without that new buffed speed boost. Other than that, the objective really is, if your Dead Ringer gets set off, try and get out of the way of as much stuff as possible, and of course use that speed boost and that fire resistance to your advantage. Overall, do I think this is a bad change? I'm gonna say yes for now. I think the amount of damage resistance that they've taken off is way too much, because there's so much now that you will die to that you wouldn't have in the past. Like, the change is drastic. It is going to take getting used to, and maybe I will revisit it in, say, maybe like a month or so to sort of draw some conclusion as to, yes, we do still think that it's been nerfed too hard, or maybe, you know, as a community we'll have changed our mind by then. Or possibly even Valve will revert some of the changes. That would not be the first time that they've done it either. One thing that this does do though is increase the viability of the other watches. I will do another video that focuses on the new Invisi watch and Cloak and Dagger. The change that affects them both is that they've now got 20% damage resistance while invisible. They never had that before. And the Cloak and Dagger has got the similar property to the Dead Ringer, that you can pick up ammo to refill your cloak now while you're not already invisible. But of course we will cover that in its own video. So thanks everybody for watching. Of course, I do want to know how you're finding the Dead Ringer. People have been telling me in comments on my other videos, and I appreciate everybody's feedback. There does seem to be a sort of mixed bag at the moment. Some people are thinking that it's okay, other people think that it's too much, like I do. But obviously it's only been a couple of days so far. It's hard to really judge it fully, because at max, people have only, probably only played about 10 hours or a bit more than that with it. So, anyway, I'm rambling now. Thanks everyone for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.